What is good? I am here with Mr. Anderson, Kyle Anderson of the band Brand of Sacrifice. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just waiting for some nice Chipotle right now.
Oh, you got some DoorDash / Uber Eats coming?
That's right.
Nice. Are you going to? What did you get from Chipotle?
I got a burrito.
I go with the bowl.
Steak burrito.
Good move. I go with the bowl. And then I get the chips, and then I do the dip. You know, I treat it I treat the bowl like a 7-layer dip sort of, and I eat it with the chips.
Smart.
I've never actually had it without the chips. I've never scooped it with a fork or something like that. So that's the only way I'll eat Chipotle, I guess. You I used to work next to one. Actually, I got burnt out on it, so I rarely ever eat it anymore.
It's something that I don't have too much. It's there's a lot of other options too for Mexican food. I'm in Toronto, and but for some reason I just feel like having it sometimes. It's just one of those things. I kind of feel like Chipotle. You get it. That's
cool. I have an affinity for everything Canadian since I am also half Canadian. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm not familiar too much with Toronto, but my family was from the whole Gatineau right outside of Ottawa in Quebec. So that's where I spend a lot of my time at. But
awesome.
I got that dual citizenship. So that's cool. That's one of the cool things.
That's very useful.
Yes, very useful. Not right now because I don't think I don't know if I can get in or get, you know what I mean, if I'm allowed in or not. But yeah, I'd like to try. I haven't been to Canada in 7-9 years, and I used to go every year, so it's I've wanted to go for a long time. But anyway, I digress. Back to you, Kyle. Your band from Toronto. You guys are relatively new. You guys just kind of popped up on the scene, and you kind of have hit the ground running, so to speak. Were you guys in any kind of musical Well, first off, let me just start that over. What year did you guys start? Because your Facebook started late 2017, but when did you guys actually get together?
I had the idea to make a little side project that was supposed to really be just one EP for fun with my friend Leo, who's also the guitarist of the band. And we were in another project called The Afterimage for a number of years, which was sort of like a progressive metalcore band, very different in style, a lot more melodic and, sort of standard metalcore tropes with singing and screaming and stuff like that. But that was the main focus. And this was sort of an outlet to create something a little more extreme and heavy and just for fun. And so I think I had the idea late 2017. We actually started making songs in early 2018 and releasing it. I think we released the EP initially in May of 2018.
Cool.
So that's when we officially we're out in the world. It was May of 2018, I guess.
Did you guys release that through an outlet, or did you guys self-release it?
It started off being self-released, and then we signed to Unique Leader Records in the fall, and then re-released it through Unique Leader with slightly different artwork and a better print on the CD and the jewel case and whatnot, and vinyl as well.
Cool.
At that point,
so you guys were doing projects prior to this?
Yeah, we the Afterimage was a band for almost 7 years or so. We did a couple of tours. We did one in the States that was with Era and Polyphia, Invenanimate. That was the only tour we ever did with that band. That was 2015 or so. And other than that, it was just mostly Canadian stuff. And the band was kind of on and off and in between various people's careers and school and all that stuff. So it was something we definitely put a lot of time into, but it's just funny how things changed where the side project for fun becomes the main project.
Yeah. So why is it such a different deflection from what you were doing in your previous band, the progressive metalcore thing? How did you kind of get turned on to the death metal, deathcore kind of just brutally heavy type shit?
I think I always had a like for more extreme music. I really enjoyed. I think I was really enjoying Beneath the Massacre at the time.
Canadian band,
another great Canadian band, and I was listening to a lot of slam, like the true slam stuff for the genre nerds out there, and somehow those influences turned into deathcore. I don't know. That was just what happened, but I just always wanted to make something heavy and kind of push my vocals in a different direction than what I was accustomed to. I was sort of doing like mid screams and singing a lot, like clean singing. And I wanted to do some more extreme vocals and make some heavy music. I just had an itch for it, I guess. And Leo had a background in tech death. He was in a band in high school, and when he was first in university, it was called Ascariasis. It was just a local band as well. That was a fully tech death. So he had background with death metal before. So it just kind of worked out in that sense. And I think a little bit of the afterimage definitely peeps through, but not too much.
Oh, cool. Well, I was thinking earlier, I totally fucking blanked on what I was going to ask you. Anyway, we'll move on from that. So your new CD is coming out March 12th, right?
March 5th.
March 5th. So the week prior. And there's a couple different nuances on this record compared to your previous two. You released two through your previous label, and now you're on Nuclear Blast, like extreme offshoot Bloodbath, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, Blood Blast.
Blood Blast. Blood Blast. Nuclear Blast. Blood Blast. Got it. Yeah.
It's a new outlet that focuses on the digital front alone. So it's a bit of a different business model from the actual Nuclear Blast, but it's nice because you can still handle all the physicals yourself as a band. And we are pretty DIY to begin with. We were doing most of the back end stuff and the business stuff already. So it just made sense to work with a team that we had sort of handpicked in a sense. Blood Blast, our representative, his name's Bryce, and he works with a number of bands and tours with them. He's also part of the Devastation of the Nation tour that happens. So we did a couple of tours while he was TMing Rings of Saturn, and cool. We had that relationship and just loved working with them. And so it just made sense to take that route, as we wanted to go mostly independent for this release.
Nice. So they handle like what? The streaming, the digital downloads, and just like all the digital stuff. And then you guys would handle the pressing of CDs, the pressing of physical copies and stuff like that? That's
right. Literally everything else is the band. And
do you guys handle your own merch and all that other kind of stuff too?
Yeah, everything, all the merch is all done by us. We put in the orders ourselves and all that. So it's pretty much a DIY band. I mean, it's, if you think about it, the idea of it's a little more artist friendly version of something like a CD Baby or a DistroKid, but a little more in depth with more connections on the back end, I'd say, to streaming platforms. And they've got a great team, and it's just been an awesome experience so far with them. And it's a great step, I think, for those bands that want to sort of handle more things themselves and create a product that's a little more curated than you might have with sort of standard PR and standard releases that a label might do for every single band that they have, kind of thing. So.
Yeah. It seems like a unique kind of way to approach the situation. It kind of seems like a more evolved, a more evolved relationship between, label and artist. So they only kind of, do they help in any other way as far as like, I don't know, promotion and stuff like that? Is it all, do they, I'm trying to think like what, do you keep all your cut for the physical copies and merch and stuff like that? Or do they get a cut of it for like some kind of management / promotion fee?
No, they don't get a cut of any of that. That's all 100% to the band. What they do have is they have connections with streaming platforms and whatnot, a better, closer dialogue with them. For example, things like Spotify and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get into too much detail with that, but it's helpful in that respect because they can represent the artist in a great way. So you can have a better dialogue with different teams. That may be changing now in the future, as I know Spotify is making a number of changes. And that's a whole topic in and of itself, Spotify, but yeah, that's one of the benefits to something like this over like a CD Baby or a DistroKid or anything like that, is that you have a representative you can discuss things with directly, and their back end system is awesome.
Cool.
You can see everything almost in real time as well, and it's not like a label where you're going to get maybe 2 statements a year. Yeah. You can withdraw funds at any point, pretty much. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. And again, do they help with like any kind of like ads and promoting and anything like that, or they just kind of run the music stuff?
Yeah, they do some of that stuff too, and they have representatives that focus on things like YouTube as well. But it's mostly the platforms themselves that your music is going through, and they have different representatives that have that discussion, and you're able to connect with representatives from those avenues a little bit easier.
Cool. Well, enough of the back end stuff. Let's talk about the front end stuff. So, like I said earlier, just a little bit ago, this new album is a little bit different from your previous releases. So, what kind of spawned that change as far as like, it just seems like a more grander sound with a lot more synth production, a lot more, different weird noises in places and stuff like that?
I think it was a combination of a couple of things. I think the first one was 2019. We were on the road constantly. And I think having been on the road and played the other songs and sort of experienced what reactions are like to certain riffs and certain tunes that you put in the set list and things like that, sort of helped clean the sound up a little bit and hone in on the tools that were a part of the Boss kit there, I guess. And just really doubled down on the things that were working. And I think one thing that we sort of realized is that I think right now with mainstream music, for example, if you look at kind of how rock has changed over the years and how it's not maybe in the forefront as much compared to like your hip hops or your pop music. And I think that's because people really want to have an experience. They want something that's grand and large. So that's why we sort of doubled down a little bit on the big production, as well as we trying to go for something that's a little more, even though it's still extremely heavy and extreme.
Oh, for sure.
We wanted to go for something that's a little more
it definitely is brutal
approachable,
and heavy, for sure.
And I think we also had in mind that maybe we could be a gateway in some senses for those from maybe the metalcore realm, because I think we've got a lot more repeating choruses and things like that too. So song structure was another important aspect to us as well with this album.
Cool. And does that differ from the previous albums where like you guys were just maybe more loose with the song structure?
I think we had a couple of hints of it with our album, the previous album. We had a song called Charlotte off that record, God Hand, and that one was pretty structured, and that one seemed to be one of the favorites off that record. So we sort of learned from that and went from there. There's a couple of them that are structured similar to how we have it on Lifeblood, but there are definitely some not as standard song structures on that record comparatively.
How long have you had this album, Lifeblood, recorded and ready to go?
We actually wrote the majority of this record during the pandemic. So it's pretty fresh as far as material goes. Sometimes people sit on things because they have to wait for the whole release stuff to happen on the back end with labels and whatnot. But that was one benefit to being independent, is we can get things out a little quicker. And we are self-produced, all the mixings in-house and writing and productions in-house. So it's another benefit too. So we were able to write and record and get it mixed and mastered pretty quickly.
Nice. Who does the mixing and mastering for you guys?
So Leo does all the writing and mixing. And this time around, we had Mike Kalajian master the record.
Cool. It sounds great. That's why I was asking.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
He killed it.
Yeah. So you guys record all your own stuff. Do you guys all live in Toronto? Is it like a group of you guys that are friends there, or are you scattered throughout?
We're sort of scattered through the U.S. and Canada now.
Okay.
So initially, Leo and I had met and we lived together in Toronto for a while, but now he's living in the States. He's in Connecticut, and so he's there working for a big tech company in Connecticut.
Nerd.
And our drummer is in Brooklyn, but everybody else is actually, our bass player just moved to Halifax. So he's
you're spread all over now.
Pardon me?
You're spread all over now.
Yeah, we're spread all over the place. We used to mostly be in Toronto, but that's definitely changed now. So, but it works out because we can, we're pretty mobile when things are back to normal, we'll be mobile.
And noble too. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
So how does that affect like you guys like writing and just jamming in general? Like how often do you guys get together? Like with the pandemic going on with, people living in the States and stuff like that, I'm sure it's been tough if they even got over. I'm sure they probably haven't even crossed the border.
Yeah. So, we've actually always been pretty mobile with writing anyway. So it's mostly, Leo will send ideas to me and then I'll track them myself, at home and shoot them back to him. And, this time around, our drummer, James, he actually has his own studio as well, tracked the drums in his studio and then shot them back to Leo. So it's always been pretty mobile. We did get together to shoot a couple music videos back in November. Flew out to the US. We filmed in Philly for a couple of the videos that we put out.
Cool.
And but that's the only time we've been together since our last tour, which was in Europe in March of last year. So it's been a while.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing that you guys kind of like, got to at least focus enough to even like write and record and, release a record without even hanging out or being around the same,
Yeah. It's definitely a different approach than, I've done both ways. I've done it this way. And I've also done it where, everybody jams in a room and just writes and vibes. Either way works.
What do you prefer though? Do you have a preference to either one?
I think for myself, it's faster and more effective to be sending ideas. But there's some things that, depending on what kind of music you're playing, certain vibes, it doesn't. When everybody's in the same room and you're feeling something, you can't necessarily put that into a DAW.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I guess.
Right.
But I think for the style of music that we play, it works perfectly fine to do it the way we do it.
Cool. And what workstation do you use for recording your vocals?
I use Reaper.
Okay.
Myself.
Cool. I have no idea what that is. I use Ableton and Audacity, and I'm familiar with a couple other ones like Pro Tools.
Mm-hmm.
Reaper, I've never.
This one's like it's like an open source sort of DAW.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets updated and sort of a lot of people contribute to it.
Right.
So it's pretty awesome. It's actually free to use for the most part. It's like a trial.
Cool. And that's what you use to record and do all your stuff.
That's what I do. And Leo, I think he uses Logic.
Oh, okay.
He's a Mac user.
Familiar with that as well. I also am a Mac user. So what do you attribute like your guys' just, firestorm of, I don't want to call it success, but like notoriety, you know what I mean? Because like you guys seem to have, crossed leaps and bounds, even in this past year with, without, playing shows or even doing much, your guys' buzz just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger. Like, what do you attribute to the quick, success of all that?
I think there's a few factors that go into it. I think right now, if we look at the pandemic, I mean, some bands have decided, I'm just going to wait it out. We're going to just wait till everything goes back to normal. When tours are happening again, I know tours are happening again, then I'll put out a record. I think this is actually a good opportunity, though, to release music, because I think people are listening to a lot of music right now. And people have a lot of free time at home if they're not working from home or doing other things. And a lot of people I know have unfortunately lost their jobs or are in between jobs. So I think it's a good opportunity to have media out there. So that's, I think, the first part of it. And the second part is, I think we focused a lot on the marketing aspect of this record. And like we did a couple of things that were a little outside the box. We made like a VR website where you can sort of discover the album artwork, things like that. It's something a little bit outside the box. And we really worked and developed a team. We have a great PR team that we're working with, and we shoot our ideas off and they give ideas back. So that helps too. And then I think as far as the songs go, I think it just helps that there's a big resurgence happening in deathcore in general. There's a lot of great young bands, like a couple I would name would be like Shadow of Intent or Angel Maker, for example, even Rings of Saturn. They've been around for a while, but they're part of that wave in Lorna Shore.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's a part of it as well, because I think there's a lot of cool new deathcore bands coming out that are different than what people might be used to when you think of the word deathcore, I guess. So
yeah, you seem pretty comfortable with the term, even though it, I think people shit on all kind of terms, but it's a love-hate relationship with these kind of genre names, because even if you were to say metalcore, you're going to piss off certain decades of people who lived through the metalcore. You know what I mean? Because I know when I say metalcore, I'm referring to a certain time period from like 2000 to 2006 or whatever. That's kind of like my golden era. But there's also like a different style of metalcore prior to even that. That was like, Dead Guy and Drowning Man and all sorts of other shit. So like, and then you have the newer version of metalcore that is more of a new metalcore situation. But yeah, you seem pretty comfortable with the deathcore terminology.
Yeah, I think some would consider it a dirty word for sure. But to me, that's what most people say when I look online, when they discuss the genre. And I mean, I'm not like a genre nerd or anything like that. I'm not going to get mad if someone says, oh, this is actually, indie, down tempo, I don't know, grunge. I'm not going to get upset with that. But I just kind of go off of what the general fan would say, I guess. I also think too that with the sort of newer age bands, it's sort of become a little less dirty of a word as well. Kind
of got dragged through the mud a little bit, and then now it's coming up. Just like I think heavy music in general is having an upswing. Altogether, not just deathcore or metalcore or anything, but I think I think, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the profitizing of it for a while, because I think it got so huge, the scene in general, the whole scene got so huge. It was on MTV, it was doing this, it was that, it was in the mall, and then I think it became kind of a joke shortly after that. And then it's cool that it's picking back up now, but it's picking back up for the right reasons,
Yeah, I guess things go through cycles, and then you have some people that kind of ruin it for others. But it's nice to see, like you said, it's nice to see that it's picking back up again. I guess when we think about genres, the funny one that comes to mind, this is obviously not an actual genre, but it's what people called it. But if you look at something like gent, for example,
there's so much music that has a gent sound to it that's an unfair genre name.
Yeah, it's just it's just a noise that the guitar makes, but I mean, that's what people called it. So, at a certain point, you got to adapt to it, I guess. If that's what the fans are calling it, then cool.
Yeah, you got to go with the public on that one, because then you'll just be like the crazy old guy trying to be.
Back in my day, we didn't call it that. We called it progressive metal.
Crabcore. What the hell is that? I kind of feel like a lot of deathcore kind of, a little bit came from crabcore. Like maybe the brutal breakdowns and I don't know.
Yeah, the fret one breakdowns, except I guess the only difference is in the crabcore era was drop C, probably. And deathcore, they're all in drop A or drop B. So that was really the only difference. But it's essentially the same idea.
Yeah.
With some thrash riffs added.
Just don't rip your pants, So I heard somewhere or read somewhere that you base the band kind of off of anime or a certain anime.
Yeah, it's based off of a manga called an anime called Berserk.
Okay, is a manga like the comic book version and anime the cartoon
exactly?
Version?
Yeah,
okay. I'm learning things every day. You know what I mean? I'm not familiar. I watched Akira. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Classic.
I was like 10, so that was the last time I saw it. It was a while ago, and I kind of don't remember it. I just remember he grew a big freaky arm and rode a motorcycle.
That was probably pretty scary as a 10-year-old to watch that. That's pretty dark.
Yeah, it was a little strange. But I got my grandmother was watching me, and I got her to rent it from Blockbuster. Now I'm sounding super old at this point because
I love Blockbuster so much. Don't even get me started about Blockbuster.
Well,
I went to the last one actually.
Where was that? In like the West Coast or something?
It's it's in Bend, Oregon. And when we were on tour last with Rings of Saturn in 2019 in the fall, I had the opportunity to go there, and I'm like, I'm loaded in. See you guys later. I'm going to Blockbuster. And everybody's like, what? I went to Blockbuster, and they've definitely like retained the vibe.
Yeah.
The only thing is they didn't have games, but otherwise it's all there. And they got some like Blockbuster merch, but it feels exactly how I remember it. And I was just,
is that the one? Is that the one that's? It's not part of the franchise, right? It's just like a nostalgia store, or is it the last one of the franchise holding on?
I think they're allowed, as far as I know, I could be wrong on this, but I think they're allowed to use the name, but it's their own kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Like they're just a rental store that's like, hey, we're Blockbuster now. Blockbuster went out of business. Now we're Blockbuster.
Yeah. They actually, I think, turned it into an Airbnb for a bit as well. So you could go and sleep in a Blockbuster.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could. I'm pretty sure they probably have like you can rent any movie and watch a movie and get the popcorn right there.
Yeah.
God, there was probably some nostalgia rush when you walked into that bad boy. I remember you said VR earlier, like a VR thing, and now we're talking about Blockbuster. I bought a VR boy from Blockbuster one time. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like the Game Boy version of VR, it was like this little VR thing.
Was it red?
Yep.
Did it like? Okay, the Virtual Boy.
It came with a stand, and you would like just put your face on it. You know what I mean?
I heard that made people throw up a lot.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it was like the public's first time ever like dealing with any kind of personal virtual reality that it was pretty cheap. So I would assume
it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean now the Oculus thing and home VR is an actual thing. So
yeah. I don't have a headset myself, but
have you ever tried it?
It's something I've not actually.
Cool. Well, I haven't either, so we can't talk about it then.
Okay. I guess not.
I do want to try it. I've been thinking about buying the Oculus Rift or whatever the Facebook one at Best Buy is, just to try it because it seems wild, but who knows? Yeah. I don't know. How difficult is it for a Canadian band starting out?
In this genre, I think it's pretty tough because I
guess in any genre, because you guys have the population difference is great in your country to our country. So even if you want to get into your genre, that's even more niche. You know what I mean? It's like, there's way less people that would listen to that kind of music. So I guess, expand on that then. Like, how difficult is it for Canadian bands in the scene to kind of like gain notoriety? And how often do you guys get to come? How often and how difficult is it to come over and play like in the US?
Okay. So I can just sort of speak from our experience, but right now the local scene for alternative music is near non-existent. Other than before the pandemic, I'll say as well. It's generally the people will come to shows that are, the mid-range touring bands from the States. And there's a few Canadian bands that are killing it. And, if you think of bands like Counterparts, for example,
right,
in the metalcore world, but they've been around a while. But as far as the local scene goes, there's not really a lot of local bands that are playing shows and things like that. It doesn't really happen anymore. So your best bet is the online world and gaining notoriety on social media. And if people like your tunes enough, then you probably are going to hopefully be able to get to the States. And that's where we pretty much skipped the local stage completely with this band. Our first show was in Trent, New Jersey as a band.
Wow.
We did a tour with a few of our friends and a band called Signs of the Swarm and Depths of Hatred and Sentinels. It was a smaller tour in early 2019. And that was a great way to get our feet wet as a band. But as far as a band that's starting out, I think the only way you're going to really make some headway is getting music seen and heard online. Because right now there's not really a local scene. Maybe that'll change though when shows are back, because people are really itching for live music right now. So maybe people will start making local bands again. I'm hoping that, because a local scene is a good thing, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of things.
Of course. Yeah. And I was going to ask, like, what do you think attributes, outside of obviously the pandemic, but like you were saying before, it was kind of drying up. What do you think attributes to that? Like, what is the rumor going around your area for that? And is it in Toronto only, or do you find more in the little, in the suburbs? Do you find it bigger, the scene bigger there?
I think places like Montreal are still popping off. Montreal is always going to live and breathe metal, and Quebec in general, I think.
Interesting.
So that's a good thing. It's always been great going over there. Toronto's still okay, like I said, for the mid-range and tours.
Yeah, there's definitely people that live there that would come see like a touring band for sure. But I'm curious as to why, like, the local scene is like dry.
I guess when I first started getting into heavy music, or the core scene in general, I guess, there was also, the sort of scene culture, dressing up. And I'm talking old school where people had raccoon tails and, swoops and size small shirts and your mom's jeans, like that, right. That time, that was the there. Culture. And I think a lot of people came for the culture side as well. Mm. You know what I mean? A lot of people love the music, but there was also that, like, I want to be a part of the scene thing. And then there's also like your hardcore kid thing and whatever little group you're part of, deathcore kid thing. So that culture side of it isn't as prevalent as back in the day, like in the same sense as it is now. And I think the younger generation is gravitating more towards seeing bands that are larger or mid-range, and they'll come out to those shows, but they're not really interested in supporting the local scene because they're not there to hang out in a scene culture. Right. This is my hypothesis, I guess. I could be wrong on this, but.
Well, it kind of falls into the same thing like I was kind of mentioning earlier, how like the scene culture just was bastardized for a while, and like it became like somehow scene culture became like MySpace culture, and then it became like a joke. And you like, now I look back, and I'm sure like you look back, and some of maybe not, but some of the choices of clothes and things that I would wear prior to them being on MySpace or whatever, because the MySpace thing happened, and because like the MTV thing happened, and then that became like a gimmick. It just makes me cringe when I look back, and it wasn't like I was following that trend. It just, now I
wasn't
cringe, But who knows? Maybe the young kids are they're all about the vintage shit. You know what I mean? They're all about buying clothes online from like 1990, early 2000s. I feel like the scene will come back, and I feel like, again, for all the right reasons, and it should be good. We all just got to hold in there. We might all be like 45, but it'll be popping.
Yeah, I think like we said before, everything does go through cycles, and it'll probably come full circle. Maybe my kids will have raccoon tails,
right?
And swoops. You never know.
You never know.
But yeah, I think that might be the reason why things have changed a little bit, and it's slowly, because I think that even the scene thing went through some different phases from, like the 2000s, 2006 is different than 2010 to 2012 or 13. Like because there's so many different bands with different styles and changes that happened throughout music through that time. You talk about crabcore, that's after your, As I Lay Dying and that kind of metalcore kind of phase.
Right.
That was big for a while.
Right.
So
it's crazy. And like we mentioned new metalcore earlier, and that's a cool genre for me, because before I found like hardcore and metal and stuff like that, I was a new metal kid, like in middle school and stuff. Like I was listening to Korn, and Limp Bizkit is still a huge band in my life, so it's okay. But whatever.
Nothing wrong with that,
right? There's no more gatekeeping these days. The internet said so. But so I grew up in the new metal scene, and then like I stumbled into like Glassjaw, and then like Hatebreed, and then kind of like got sucked into the hardcore metal scene, and then now it's fun. All the kids that like were really young growing up listening to Slipknot and other new metal bands, they're also into the like metal and hardcore scene too, but they're taking like all that influence from like Disturbed and they're making it they're mixing it in with like As I Lay Dying and other fucking like heavy ass bands, and it's creating this whole different like metalcore vibe, and I'm kind of here for it.
I'm also here for it. I mean, I guess I was more on the pop side of the new metal stuff, but I love Linkin Park.
Oh, that's fine.
It's one of my favorite bands.
I grew up listening to that too. Yeah.
So I think almost all of these new metalcore bands have ripped off a Linkin Park melody. That's, I mean, I'm here for that too. I want to hear it. Linkin Park isn't writing Linkin Park anymore, obviously due to what's happened, but for many years they haven't been writing that style of Linkin Park.
Oh, of course.
I miss it.
Could you imagine if there was like, Hybrid Theory 2 or like a Meteor 2? That'd be cool. So, not like just something like those two albums. Those two albums were like so, I don't know, they were just so awesome at the time, even though it is like you said, like a more pop version of it. But
I mean, I like pop music. I'm not going to lie.
What's your fave right now? What's your fave pop stuff?
I think I've been messing around with the latest Ariana Grande.
Okay.
To be honest with you. I mean, I'm not too deep into it, but I do dabble in some pop, and I take mental notes from pop when we apply it to the world that we're in. I think there's a lot to be gained in that sense. Look at a band like, I don't know if you heard this band, but they're called I Prevail.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big metalcore band. I think they take a lot of notes from the pop world and apply it in a way.
I think they've kind of moved more towards that realm, which is that's not me hating on anything, but like, they kind of moved into I hate saying Imagine Dragons realm, but they're kind of crossing over into a different bridge area.
They got like rapper features and stuff like that too. I mean, I think that's cool. I think that's sort of stuff. It might not be for everybody, that especially people that have been around for some time, might not be for them, but in a way that's a good thing to further, alternative music and get it to more ears.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's, earlier this week I was thinking about there's nothing you can do to stop the mating of music in general, because people are going to grow up listening to whatever, and then they're going to find that they want to make music. And sometimes you're not making music that you really want to make. You're just making music because you're with some friends and you're with a group of people and you're making music that you all want to make. But it might not be what like you personally want to make. So you're never going to stop people from influencing whatever genre. So all the genres are going to just be like screwed at some point.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have any rap features in Boss?
Maybe. I don't know. I know I have some friends of mine are in a band called Within Destruction, and they released a pretty controversial record for the deathcore world that has like actual rap features on it and stuff.
Would you be afraid?
So I thought that.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish yours.
I was going to say, I thought that was cool that they took that risk and were like, you know what? Let's just release the opposite of what people are going to expect from a slamming deathcore band.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes curveballs work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes they work out. Sometimes they don't. Only history can tell. I forgot what I was going to ask you before I let you finish your thing. Damn. When's the last time you had some poutine? Do you guys do poutine in Toronto? Is that a thing out there?
We do, yes. Maybe a couple of months ago. Oh, I like to save that for special occasions when I'm really feeling it. And, I like pulled pork poutine. That's pretty fire.
Nice.
I'm into that.
Do you guys have St. Hubert over there? Like the chicken chain restaurant?
I don't think we do.
It'd be like a sit down kind of place. Not fancy or anything like that, but like a Ruby Tuesdays.
Sounds familiar, but I don't think I've had it.
Interesting. They've got a pulled chicken poutine. Okay. And they have like this sauce that you can, I think I can buy the sauce here in the States even. It's like some kind of chicken gravy. But that hits the spot. But nothing hits the spot more than like some on the side of the road poutine stand. That's like that's more my shit. I like that kind of stuff. But I haven't had that in so fucking long, man. That's more the reason why I want to go back.
That's one of the great parts of being Canadian is the poutine. And hockey, I'd say too.
For sure. You like hockey? What's your team?
I do, yeah. Pardon?
What's your team?
Is
it the Maple Leafs?
To be honest, that would be my second team. My real team is actually the Devils.
Okay.
But they haven't been very successful for some time. So I've got a few Leafs jerseys in the closet hanging up.
My team won the Stanley last year, so I was riding high. Yeah, I'm a Bolts fan. What other Canadian things going on out there, man? Are you guys any closer to being open? Like,
we were actually under state of emergency.
Yeah, I read
for a bit. They've just started open things up loosely, and they've sort of color coded different areas and made them zones that are opening before others and whatnot, which I think that makes sense. But I mean, I don't claim to know much about the science behind things and whatnot, but I would have been okay with, as much as I hate being inside, maybe closing things down a little bit longer if that meant that we could get a little closer to things becoming normal. Yeah. But I mean, I'm no expert, so.
Right. Was it getting really bad up there, or because you have to understand, I'm in Florida, and we've kind of just been like open since like April.
Yeah.
So it's been like the Wild West out here, and not that I'm wearing masks and stuff wherever I go, and if I go anywhere and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm also not staying inside. Like, and that's the thing. Like locally here, not a lot of people are. And it's really weird to hear, like, other places like California or Canada. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, like, did it get like really bad, or like And what's really bad? Because I feel like we would be really bad. And if this was really bad, then I don't know what's really going on.
I think there was a time where it was like 3 to 5K new cases or something like that in Ontario, which is the province here. Mm-hmm. That was the daily sort of average. And then they decided, it's a little too high. We're going to close things down and be really tight on everything and fine people if they're out and partying and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know how that compares to other places and the population density. There's all those numbers that I'm not willing to take the time to crunch. But yeah, that's sort of where it was at as far as I know. I think it's down to like 1,500 a day or something like that, new cases. But it's not.
It's not bad for a whole province, though. You're talking about for the province, right?
Yeah, I think I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was the province. I don't think it was Toronto specifically. I think it was the whole province.
Cool, yeah.
But
I mean, because even if
that's not too bad.
Even if you said that for Toronto, I'd be like, that's not like, doesn't sound horrible. But
yeah, I don't think it's. Let's see, new COVID cases, Ontario.
Yeah, we don't have a Jamie Googler or a side person that can producer that can Google things.
Actually, we are 2,700 today in Ontario. That's the new cases right now. And I guess it's starting to go up again because apparently at one point it was up to 8K.
So you're doing good. Kind of.
So yeah, we'll see how things go. Guess I'm not in the loop with that, but I've just sort of been cooped up in my basement here.
It's okay not to be in the loop, man. I think if you're in the loop on that kind of things, you get more like bummed out. You know what I mean? The more mainstream media you take in, the more crazy I think people get.
Oh yeah, I had to when I was working like a day job, an office job. I was looking at the news every day when I came in to see what was going on and whatnot. I just had to stop that.
Yeah,
I don't even look at it for fun anymore or anything like that. I just do my own thing and I'll look at Reddit for certain things that are going on, but I don't touch any mainstream media for the most part.
No one shares it on Twitter or like social media and I'm like, I don't even get on. I try not to get on like Facebook and shit like that as much, but if I don't see it on like social media or if I don't like pull it up on Google myself, a hurricane could come hit here and I wouldn't even know. You know what I mean? It would be like, there's a hurricane? Fudge.
I think at that point, it's just going to be screaming at you from your phone.
Yeah.
So no need for the news at that point then.
Exactly. What are some things that maybe picked up during COVID, like in the industry and like as far as like bands and music are concerned? Like what are some things that bands started doing or that the industry started doing that will stick around, you think, after the pandemic? Like when touring fully resumes and everything goes forward.
One thing I think was really big was Twitch streaming and live streaming in general, whether it's a full band or if it's members from a band gaming or doing podcasts or whatnot. That's really picked up. Yeah. I've seen, and the fans and listeners seem to really enjoy that and want more of it. So I think that will continue. As much as it can while people are mobile, but I think you'll see a lot more of that. I think one thing I used to really like was the fact that bands had DVDs of shows or like where you actually had soundboard audio and stuff like that. So I think it is cool that people are doing live shows right now. Maybe people will start doing DVDs again. I don't know. Maybe not DVDs, but releasing it online,
right.
Like a pay per access or whatever, that might happen. I think mostly just the streaming stuff is the main big bump there, and merch drops. That seems to be really, really pumping. That's in any industry. Like there was a while where we do a lot of like custom tie-dye type designs. We're all about crazy colors and whatnot.
Hell yeah, Supreme merch. Boss collab.
And we couldn't even source hoodies because there was a global, North American shortage of hoodies. You just couldn't get a blank hoodie to dye for like 2 months. Because I guess all the YouTubers and bands and companies are all doing merch drops right now. So it was rough around Christmas time.
Wow. Yeah, I think if anything, the pandemic only showed. I mean, granted, a lot of the industry is hurting financially, right? But I think what will happen is everyone will even be better off because now you have all this other income stream. You have another stream of income that you weren't doing before that was there, and you may not have thought it was as valuable and whatnot. Because I've been saying for a while that I felt bands should be doing some kind of paywall situation, whether it be through Patreon and you just kind of have like a Q&A or you have like some fan club thing. And I know that Frankie from Imure, he got shit on a lot for trying to have a fan club situation. But then Patreon kind of came along and became this big thing, and especially now in the pandemic, and I think it's going to be more beneficial for bands because once the touring money and all that stuff comes back into play and everything, they can also
I totally forgot about that side of things because there are many bands that are doing that. A good success story with that, I'd probably say would be in deathcore would be Carnifex. They're doing it, and they have like live streams that are only for their patrons.
Yeah,
I think like that. So
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I paid. At first I was like, I'm not going to do those live streams. But then Between the Buried and Me did one on Twitch, and kudos to them because they played live. So, and I know some of the live streams are pre-recorded, which is cool too. I mean, I enjoyed the Every Time I Die one. I watched many this pandemic. I broke down obviously and started watching them all, but a lot of them were fun. Like Every Time I Dies was kind of like comedy, and then live performance, and then skits, and then live performance and other shit. And that's cool. And Under Oath had their own thing going on where it was like live performance and shit, and Code Orange. So yeah, man, I mean, I hope it continues, but maybe not on the frequency, obviously, that it is, but they obviously won't need to when they're touring again.
Yeah, and I think that it might be a nice thing to have to fill in some gaps. Like, let's say you got a huge tour with some larger bands, and then you got to go to Europe, but there's a couple of months lull. That might be a good point to bust out the content. So I think that will be something that we see.
Yeah, bands won't even more, and this could even be better for the industry in general, but more bands might be able to like quit their day job.
Yeah.
Earlier in their career.
It's funny. That was something that I had to rely on, going to tour and then trying to find a job when you're back. And now I've actually found consistency not being on tour as far as the finances go. And I've been able to not have a regular day job while I've been on ever since October of last year. So
do you stream?
I don't stream, but I started some other business ventures that the band helped, like going back to tie-dye. I have a custom tie-dye company that we do merch drops, sort of like a streetwear type approach. And we work with other heavy bands and we'll do collabs with them. Kind of like, in streetwear brands, like you have like Nike and Supreme or something like that. Right. Not at that scale, but stuff like that. That's what we've been doing. And that's been helping.
Would you have done any bands that I may have known about as far as like merch drop stuff?
We've done Attila. We've done Acacia Strain. We've done Rings of Saturn. We've done some Lorna Shore. We've done Infant Annihilator. A bunch of like deathcore oriented kind of bands, and even some smaller ones too. Those are some of the bigger ones, Attila and Acacia Strain. But we're working on a few other big ones right now, and maybe we're gonna go into other genres as well.
Nice.
But the idea is it's a very limited number of items, and they're completely custom and hand dyed, and so that's been sort of the thing that's keeping things going.
Well, that's cool.
That and the band. So
yeah, of course, yeah. Like because again, you guys kind of like came out of left field, and like I said, you've grown even during a year where you don't tour, so or nothing really has been going on. But speaking of Attila, Funny you mentioned that. I meant to bring this up way earlier on, but today marks the 2-year anniversary of me sitting down with Franz to record the first episode of this podcast.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we didn't release the episode right away. We waited a month. So technically, March 22nd is our anniversary, but we recorded our first episode today. Or today, 2 years ago. So you're on you're on the anniversary.
Hell yeah.
But I just bought my first tie-dye shirt again since, before when I was a kid, but it was a Gate Creeper shirt. So I was interested to maybe
sweet.
see if you did that one, but
I didn't do that one. I've seen those though. Those are awesome.
Yeah, so I can't wait for that. But I've gotten more into like I won't say nicer clothes, but like streetwear and more like quality t-shirts, I guess you would say. Not like I said, not nicer clothes, but just quality t-shirts. So I'm on Depop all the time trying to find like vintage Limp Bizkit t-shirts and stuff.
I legitimately searched that like 2 days ago for like 90s Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park shirts.
Someone today on their story, I was looking, and her brother bought her a 1999 Family Values tour shirt, and I looked those up, so I know how much they cost. And I was like, Jesus, because I've seen them for like anywhere between like $100 to like $200. And I was like, damn, dude. I was like, maybe it's a reprint or something like that. It's not on like a Gildan. But I found a couple scores. I found a long sleeve Limp Bizkit shirt that had just the 5 heads in a circle, like from the Significant Other era.
I remember that one, yeah.
For $60, I got that one. And then some random person on Facebook was like, hey, I see you like Limp Bizkit. They were like a friend of mine, somewhat like through a friend of mine or somehow on Facebook. But they're like, I see you like Limp Bizkit. I have this shirt. Do you want it? It's in an XL. And it was like a vintage like chocolate starfish shirt. And I was like, yeah. It was
That's awesome.
Just the album cover. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. So I've had to stop buying them because I'm going to just get a whole wardrobe of them.
That app is criminal because you open up your phone and then there's just notifications on it. So I gotta hit that. I gotta clear those notifications. Then you're searching for an hour on there.
I turned them off so I don't get the notifications. Then I go back like 5 days later. I'm like, oh, I messaged that guy about that shirt.
Actually, that's something I've seen that has been growing too. I've seen a lot of band guys popping up some old tour exclusives on there from other bands they might have toured with or their own bands.
Oh yeah.
I know Travis from Cattle Decapitation has a pretty extensive account on there. So that's really cool too, I think. There's a lot more things on the market that weren't normally there at the moment. So you know what's weird you say that? Like Alex, who runs the actual Lambgoat website, he's got like a treasure trove of shit in his basement from over the last 20 years of running, a website geared toward all this. So he put up a shop on the Lambgoat site and he's like selling some of the CDs and vinyls and stuff, but he's got so many like stickers and posters and all sorts of other stuff that's not on his website that if he were really to, he could like donate that to like a museum somewhere and they could start like a hardcore metal scene museum. Him and Josh Grable from Trustkill, man, they were going back and forth on the podcast before about their nostalgic, like hoarded shit, and I was like so jealous. That's crazy, and that wouldn't have happened before, Right. Another thing that's changing with the times and people adapting to this crazy world we're in right now.
I feel like people are more open with like thrifting. Because that's technically what Depop is. Depop's online thrifting, but it used to have such a negative a negative vibe to it. Like used clothes, But it seems like everyone's changed, or certain people are changing, and it becomes a bigger thing. Like so it's cool.
I'm all about it. I'm all for it.
Well, Kyle, we're kind of running to the hour-long limit here, so I didn't.
All right.
I know you got some Chipotle on the way, or probably already there on your front door or something.
I think it's somewhere around here. I think my girlfriend grabbed it for me.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to shout out? I know you got your album coming out on. Damn, hold on. Before we go, I wanna bring up one thing that I noticed online. You guys have an odd number of people that already have like the band logo tattooed on them for being like such a new band.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Well, the name comes from a brand that the main character gets. So essentially what that signifies is
in the anime you're talking about?
In the anime, yeah. In the anime, the character is supposed to be a part of this ritual where they sacrifice a number of people in order to create a new sort of demon king, I guess you could say. He basically, you brand all these people for sacrifice, and then they're sacrificed, and then this person can gain infinite power, essentially.
Okay.
But what the protagonist of the story, Guts, he actually survives this ceremony, but he has the brand on his neck, and that brand bleeds when he at certain points when he's supposed to go to bed, because there's now a connection between the physical world and the astral world, which is where that ceremony sort of took place. And now demons are basically after him, constantly trying to kill him because he's supposed to be sacrificed, but he lived.
Right.
So that's kind of like the idea behind it. It's symbolic, but we didn't want to take that exact brand symbol. And
yeah, because I'm trying now that you're explaining it, I'm thinking like, am I just looking when I like Googled brand of sacrifice, right? And I hit images. Am I getting the brand tattoo that they're getting from the anime, or the like?
You might be getting that.
Okay,
but we have had quite a few tattoos of our B symbol.
Oh, okay. Because when you said that it bleeds, I was like, there were some that were kind of tattooed like they were bleeding. So I was like, maybe I
it might be from the anime. I do have that symbol on my neck as well.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's sort of. I like to look at it as a symbol of survival, in the sense that you can, survive the absolute worst type of situation and be able to move forward, even when you're haunted by it. Just like something like dealing with things like depression or anxiety, when you take it to a real world perspective. So that's sort of where I've based that idea from. It's more than just the anime, I guess. But we have had a lot of people get the B symbol tattooed, which is a little different than that one, but that might have been what you found.
No, I saw both, but there were obviously, when you said it was, there was a picture that I looked at for sure, and it was like it wasn't bloody, it was like tattooed like it was bleeding symbol, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm connecting the wrong brand of sacrifice. Well, all right. Let's. Do you have anything that you want to kind of shout out? Obviously, you have a new album coming out March 5th.
Yeah, we actually have a new single coming out at midnight Eastern Standard Time tonight. Probably won't be able to shout that out right now. This is going to go out later, but
this will be next.
So when you do hear this, the single "Altered Eyes," check that out. And I just want to shout out a few of our friends that have put out some music. Our friends in Signs of the Swarm put out a single. Check that out. And our friends in Depths of Hatred are putting out a record soon as well. And our friends in Sentinels put out a new song too. And those guys were all a part of our very first tour, and they're very dear to us. So I just want to shout them out and see if people want to check them out too, and get into some other styles of deathcore and metalcore too. So.
Yeah, I think you can find some of the Signs of Swarm stuff on Lambgoat too if you go over there and search.
Yeah.
We've definitely posted about that, because when you say that name, it rings many bells. Do you are you familiar with like Blind Witness?
Yes.
Okay.
Classic band.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they were something that I kind of found when they came out, and it stuck with me because they curse in French on their record, and it's fucking hilarious. So I love.
I remember the song.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, man, Kyle, it was great meeting you. Hopefully next time it'll be in person, and
sure.
We'll see. Obviously check out the show and everything like that. And best of luck. I know you're probably gonna have a great release once this new record comes out, as the trajectory of the band is headed. So best of luck with that, and thanks for coming on the show, man. It was a great time.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Take it easy.